Bala Peterson is our next speaker tonight. Bala is the chair of the board of BCTV, and thank you for your commitment to consider it as well. I know this will be broadcast, I believe, at a later date at some point. So if you missed it, you want to revisit it or tell your friends about it, you'll be able to catch it on BCTV. It's a nonprofit media provider here in Berks County, and he's also founder of Cast and Crew Digital, a technology consulting and marketing firm based in Reading. He is passionate about narrative-based marketing and storytelling. His experience as a computer scientist affords him the opportunity to tackle software development and other technical challenges. He served in previous technical and product development roles at Santander, formerly Sovereign Bank, and Comcast Interactive Media. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer science from Kutztown University, a master's in project management from Boston University. He was born in Nigeria, raised in the Netherlands, and currently lives right here with us in Reading.
Thank you everyone for having me. I want to meet the guy that you just introduced. So my job here is simply to create awareness. I'm not here to give you hope or just to tell you what's going on, okay? My perspective is a little different. I am a technologist first. I was a marketer for a long time, so whenever you see these ads or things that interrupt you, usually it's my fault. So here we go. Technology is moving really quickly. A lot of great things coming up. One indicator we use to help understand it: all technology expands or extends current human capacity. Okay? So what does that mean? So this microphone extends my voice, allows me to speak to you a little clearer, and if I get in my car, I can move a little faster than if I walk. My job is to explain how the algorithms work, but it's important to we have a very diverse crowd, so I'm just going to simplify it by saying algorithms are simply the rules. So Catherine talked about the CRAP test. That is an algorithm, right? That is a set of rules by which she determines if something is legitimate or not. And it's possible to actually write code to automate that for you, but it's going to fail at a certain point, and I'll explain that in a second. So, technology that spans current human capacity. For this talk, I'm going to focus on Facebook and Google, okay? So, in the beginning, there's the town square concept, and then the library concept. So the innovation there was, we're going to build a set of crawlers that will go across the entire internet, and you present the text, and we'll match it for you. Facebook, the innovation there is that in real time, they're able to gather all of this information and show it to you. And in the beginning, the algorithms were simple. It was simple. For Facebook, it was chronological, and for Google, they would simply match the text, and if two results matched, they would pick proximity, or they would pick volume. How many sites linked to this result? Basic algorithms. But if the sound guy back there doesn't tune this microphone correctly, there will be feedback. And we see that with all technology. No, please don't go crazy. Right? And with automobiles, it's traffic, it is pollution, it is all those good things. And so what we're seeing is we're getting some feedback with these algorithms, because once commerce is introduced to the mix, because these entities have to make money, it's very, very expensive to do the work they're doing, so they get funding. And so Facebook stops becoming this town square concept, and they become property managers, where each of you are the product. If you're not paying for it, your attention is the product. So if Facebook does a great job, they'll be thriving as an entity. But if they do a poor job, no one goes there anymore. The advertisers leave, or the vendors leave, and Google is interesting because they still do a really great job, but they're just so saturated with advertising that sometimes it feels irrelevant with the results. So those are just two examples of algorithms going bad, and each of these property managers, they adjust the algorithms. So what can a robot do right now? Now, some of this technology is really old. It's not new, but there are new ways to repurpose them. So, Catherine's crap algorithm. A computer, it's very difficult for a computer to say true or false, to determine the factuality of something. But what they can tell you is how sad, how much joy, how much fear does a body of text represent. They will be able to tell you on a range from 1 to 20 the intensity of the joy expressed in the article. They will be able to tell you how positive, how negative an article is. And anything that falls in the middle is seen as neutral. Now, as an engineer, if my audience says, hey, the articles in this place are too negative, what I can do is I can tweak that ratio, the score, and I can say any post that usually falls in the middle, but people still feel is too negative, I can tweak these values to get anger better defined. Okay? Let's move on. Let me give you an example. So, I became an American 3 years ago. Yay, America, come on. So, the challenge though around that time is like you have to take this test. And I'm awful at tests. So what I did is started to Google, started to study, and what ends up happening is that I took the Declaration of Independence and I ran it through some sentiment analysis just to understand how these different platforms are categorizing bodies of texts. And to be a little sensationalistic for this talk, I also took the oath to Adolf Hitler to see what the computer thinks about this body of text. And unfortunately, if you look at some of the metrics, they're properly categorized, right? So it says this body of text is about law, government, politics, and so on and so forth. But then when I ran it through sentiment analysis, what we start to see is that the sentiment in the Declaration of Independence, the ratios matched this very fascist document. The ratios of joy, anger, disgust, sadness, all of those ratios match. So if I click on the Declaration of Independence, Google says, I have a picture of Bala Peterson. And it starts to serve me content that match these ratios. If I click an ad next to the search result, it says, I'm starting to understand how much content and what Bala's content contribution, Bala's content consumption looks like. So it builds a profile of me. So, a couple of things that are really, really frustrating. Because of this profile that I have, Google or Facebook says, Bala buys ads. Bala is married to Lali. And what we're going to do is because Bala loves this content, we're going to show Lali the same content. No. They show Lali the content that matches the same profile. The scary part of this is that I have two boys, they're 8 and 9, and YouTube is a thing. So if my family profile is based off of my consumption as the spender in the family, my kids could potentially be shown crazy, fascist content that I have nothing about based off of our family's profiles. That's something we should all be worried about. Just saying. Okay, so what does this mean in general? I believe Catherine talked about culture. Robots will start to determine culture because content is going to be filtered based off of hey, what content consumption pattern leads to ads being bought? So the more ads that you buy, the more of a profile they're building of you. And that should be disturbing, and that should be exciting as well. So another point I just want to make really quickly is that most articles have their ratios, but it's rare that you will find very polarizing ratios. Artificial intelligence does not, the way artificial intelligence is currently tuned is to be as middle ground as possible. So I could use the word hate and it wouldn't give me a disgust of 9. It will only return disgust at a level of 7 or maybe 6, depending on the platform. And so the reason why this matters is because we are all beholden to these for-profit entities. And depending on how they lean, liberal or conservative, these numbers change. The pause was for effect. Because when Zuckerberg has to go to Congress, right afterwards, they tweak the algorithms so things are more pleasant. Okay. Answers. How I consume the internet. So, I actually enjoy Facebook. I think it's kind of funny. And I train the ads. So if I like something, I tell it, I like this thing. Okay? But if I'm looking for news or insight, I go to Reddit. Reddit is a place where I can upvote something that's legitimate and is more topical, right? And it's groups of people. So if a revolution wanted to be had in America, I think it will start at Reddit. Because you have people talking about real issues and there's less noise. Although Reddit's for profit, so that's a thing. Another solution that I think is important is what Amazon is doing. I go on Amazon, so 1 out of every $2 is spent online is spent on Amazon. I love their recommendations engine, so I want them to know everything possible about me, right? Because their stated purpose is clear for me to purchase. And I'm the chair of BCTV, but I think that local community media is really, really important. If I have an issue with something that Commissioner Leinbach said, I can walk up to him and have a conversation. We have to invest and promote local media. I'm going to steal some of the thunder. And local media is important. So, thank you very much.